Hey everybody, it's your girl Cheyenne.
And Jared.
And we are the Colts. So we love to share reaction videos, educational videos, biblical videos, lifestyle videos, all with a biblical twist or our opinion. In today's reaction video, we are sharing a TikTok that is talking about all the different creative ways that people can target you in public places, ways that are, it could be dangerous out there. A lot of people are getting trafficked and, kidnapped and things like that. And so we want to share that video. We thought it would be a perfect time to share this video because Halloween is coming up, and if we post this, it might actually be on Halloween. So if you're watching this and you do plan on going out, maybe you're going from door to door with your friends, maybe you're going to a party, who knows? But this is a perfect time to think about that because there's a lot of people that, are handing out candy.
Yeah, and they're just out to hurt people, like little kids.
Yeah, they're handing out candy and things like that, and it might or might not be safe. And so there's just a lot of things that you should consider and think about, before you go out with your friends or your family, or if you're a mama or parents like ourselves, these are things you want to consider. Without further ado, let's show that video.
4 signs you may be a target of human trafficking. Number 4, you find money on the ground outside your car. So if you do this, it could be laced with drugs, fentanyl, anything that could render you unconscious. Yeah. Don't touch it, get in your car, get to safety. Number 3, you find a zip tie on the door handle of your car. Oh my gosh. This might seem odd, and you might want to get it off, you can fix it right away. Don't do it, same thing, get in your car, get to safety. You touch it, it gives the trafficker time to get to you, or it may signal to other traffickers that this is a mark or something. Oh my gosh. Number 2, finding money on the windshield of your car. Similar to outside, you may get in your car and see the money and get back out of your car, not the thing to do. Stay in your car, even if you see it on there when you've already gotten it. Drive to safety and safely get it off out. Yeah, that's scary. And then number 1 is being marked with a dot or a smidge of paint or chalk on your car. If you see your car marked with anything like that, just be safe, get to safety, drive to the police station. Don't take any chances. If you see any kind of mark, that could mean that you're marked as a vulnerable victim.
Some good advice.
Crazy. I was watching TikTok and there were several other different stories of just different creative ways people are now coming up with. Handing you a business card, putting up your windshield wipers and you get out of the car, and then that's how someone gets you because you feel like they're up and they shouldn't be up. Just, weird things like that. Pushing in your rear view mirrors and things like that. So then it makes you want to get out of the car. Just a whole bunch of really, strange things.
Yeah, I knew about the money thing. Mostly I've heard of people putting money on the windshield wiper and it being laced with some type of drug, and then as soon as you touch it, you're vulnerable. And then, but I've never heard of money on the ground, being on the ground, but it makes sense. And it's my first time hearing about them painting cars, putting paint marks on cars. I've never really heard of that before, but I can see how that would be, I can see how that would be a mark. So that's really good advice, I must say, for people that need to be aware of their surroundings and stuff like that. Sometimes people aren't aware of stuff like that when they come to their car, and they just grab and touch all over the place. I would even add, because I've heard from people that it's good to not always have a routine when you do certain things, because people might be watching you, and if you, instead of just going to your car, maybe just do something different, park somewhere else different, or walk around your car before you get in it, or something like that. Certain things that throw off your routine, because sometimes people are watching you to see, okay, what is this person doing from a day-to-day basis? Let's take advantage of their routine and try to take advantage of them too. So some good advice.
Yeah, I know when we first met, Jared, he was very religious about wearing his gun he carries. And I was like, I don't know if that's because he, you come from a military, your family's like in a military background, or, your dad's like a police officer. But I was like, okay, we would even walk down just the neighborhood, you would always have your gun. And then he told me that I should carry. And I was like, very like, no, I'm not going to do that. What do I look like carrying? And then you have to have this big bulky thing. But now that we have a daughter, and having children, I think just makes you even more vulnerable. It is something that I've been thinking about a lot more that I do want to do. And, we are, looking into that. I can't really practice shooting though right now because I am breastfeeding, and, you're at risk for lead, but you were valid. You were valid for feeling that way.
Yeah, I think personally it's something that people need to start doing nowadays, because you can't rely on the police to do everything. Police are there for a purpose. They are there to protect and serve and everything. But you have to understand, it takes time for them to get to where you're at if there's an emergency. And so the fastest thing that you can rely on is yourself. So the best thing for you to do is get some type of weapon. I really think people should be armed with some type of gun or something, like, a handgun, whatever it is that you feel comfortable shooting. Definitely carry that on you, as much as you can, because things can happen at any time. I also would suggest people would carry like a knife or something like that too, because you never know if you're a woman. A lot of the times people try to get behind you. You don't have any chance to draw a gun or anything like that, but at least if they're trying to grab you or whatever, you can like take a knife and go to work on them. You did that way, So that tends to happen when women like get raped or whatever. They get tackled to the ground and whatnot. You can reach for your knife. You might not be able to reach for your gun. At least you can have two modes of protection. So that's my suggestion for people. Pepper spray is good too. I think pepper spray is good for people.
Maybe when they're young and they can't carry.
Yeah, for when you're young and you can't carry a knife or a pepper spray.
Maybe you live on a college campus. I know, oh my goodness, I can name several different occasions where weird things happened to me. But what you were saying about the whole routine thing, it's people are watching you even when you don't know they're watching you. We used to live in a certain, like, I wouldn't say it was like a city like area of Georgia, but more like in a suburban area. And this was when I was younger, probably like in my late teens. I would run. And I remember this one guy asking me for directions and to Walmart, as if he couldn't figure that out himself or whatever. But when I peeked into his car, I was on like the other side of the car though, thank goodness. He had his stuff completely out. And then I just didn't even look back. Like, I just kept running. And he was like, come back, please. But my mom even told me stories about how when she was younger, her and her friend were walking home, and these two guys, like, tried to, like, take them and put them in their car. And thank goodness, my mom said she was really wild, and she kicked and she fought and she bit, and eventually they gave up. But, that's another thing my mom always told me is, like, if someone tries to get you or take you, you give it all you've got. I mean, if you got to stick fingers in eyeballs, do what you got to do, because once they put you in that car, it's a lot harder that you're not going to come back. Yeah. How do you feel as a dad knowing that you have a daughter, and does that make you feel more like protective or like wanting to like,
to be honest, I feel the same level of protection, because I've always been like that, even with myself, where I want to be prepared and not have to want something when I need it at the wrong time. So I've kind of lived that mindset of, always be prepared when you can. And so I intend to definitely continue with that same mindset, especially now that I have a family. It's always good to, even like I've told her, like we have like an exit strategy or emergency strategy in case someone like breaks in the house or something like that. It's always good to plan things ahead of time. Like, okay, what's our safe room? You know, okay, this is our safe room. If like there's like different scenarios that could occur in your household, where like maybe you might be walking into the household, someone's breaking in, or you might be in a room and your child is in a different room and your wife is in a different room, or you and your wife might be in a room and then your child's in their own room. There's different things that needs to be strategically planned, and I think that's important, and that's just how I've been. And I think it just all depends on the size of your house and everything. With us, we have kind of a small house, so it's not that much to really be planned anyway. But yeah, so that's just how I've always been, you know. Okay, like, what can I do to protect myself and the ones that I love? Everyone, I believe, should be thinking about that, because you don't want to just rely on the police. The police are good. I'm not saying like police are bad. My father is a police officer. It's just you can't rely on them to get there on time all the time, you know. And at that point, it's on you, you know. Like, or have you practiced shooting your gun? Have you practiced self-defense? Have you practiced a plan of action for when someone breaks into your house? Or if someone is in your house and you're walking in, have you planned that? You know, you have to have certain plans so that way you can get yourself to safety or your family. Yeah. You know, that, and also the same thing when you go outside in public too. Have a plan too. I mean, because sometimes a lot of times you'll get a lot of crazy people out here in public, and they're up to no good, or they're planning on some type of sinister act, like shooting up a Walmart or a movie theater. And the best thing to do is to plan everything as much as you can, you know, not to be paranoid or scared, but just to be prepared. You never know, you know. Yeah, you never know, and it happens all the time.
You know, you have to be careful for who you answer your door for. Don't just answer your door for anyone. There's a lot of people that are knocking on doors now. You know, my parents used to tell me these things when I was younger, but I wouldn't take them seriously. But I thank God that I have parents that are not like green, and they're actually more street smart than me. But I kind of want to end off with this really quick story of when I was in my early 20s. This was probably when I was like 19 turning 20. And now I'm 29, so this is like almost a decade ago, right? Or a decade ago. But I worked at Panera, and you know, I was very cute, very small, very petite girl, and you know, I feel like at that time, you know, I was easy to manipulate, because I just didn't have like a lot of street smarts. You know what I mean? So now that I look back on the situation and I look at all the pieces together, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think that this person was trying to traffic me. So I specifically remember it was actually like a white girl who was younger. And she came up to me asking me, and she said, hey, like, my boss wants to know if you would like to work for him, and you know, if you're looking for work. That's how she spun it. I was a cashier at that time. I didn't really think much about what she said at that time, because I just didn't care, right? But then later on, this tall you know, black dude came up to me at the cash register. He's probably about like maybe your skin tone, and he was very attractive. He was much older than me at the time, though. He was probably like 36, mid-30s or something like that. Anyways, he came up and he asked for like my number, and of course, me being that age, right, I'm like, oh my goodness, flattered, right? Oh my goodness, this older guy that's attractive wants to talk to me, and he dressed very nicely. And as we were talking to each other more and more, you know, via text and on the phone, he would ask me really weird questions like, so what would you do for money? And the reason why I'm tying him to that girl is because he was there that day. He would ask me weird questions like, what would you do for money? How far would you go for money? And of course I told him, like, I wouldn't go far for money because I was a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. Although I was a dumb and stupid girl, I still was a Christian. And I think, like, as we were talking, like, he's like, oh, you know, she kind of does have, like, morals. She's not just, like, you know, whatever. And he started to just say very weird things. He's like, you're very pretty. Can I, you know, get a picture of you? And I didn't really see anything wrong with sending him just, like, cute girl pictures of me, because a lot of the time, sometimes guys might do that, right? Like, oh, can you send me a picture of you, whatever, even though he could have, like, went on my social media, but whatever. So he's like, oh, you know, can you give me pictures of you? And then he would say weird things like, I'm making a profile for you, which, if you really think about it, it's like, how many pictures do you need of me? Me being dumb and green, I was sending him more pictures, like, of me, you know, in cute dresses or whatever. And I will have these pictures showing up as I'm talking so that you guys could see what I was sending him. But I should have picked up on the red flags. Like, in between the time that we were talking, he changed phone numbers. When we were on the phone together, he would, like, talk in some weird code to people as if he was, like, doing something. I don't know if it was, like, drugs, but it was, like, him saying little words. But it wasn't, like, a regular sentence, you know? It was, like, he was doing some sort of transaction. And then, you know, he was getting to the point where he was going to take me on a date. When I showed my cousin, and I wish I still had a picture of this man, a picture of him, she's like, why does he have two phones in his hands? Of course, my cousin has a little bit more street smarts than me, and I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? She's like, either he could be a drug dealer or whatever. I didn't really think of any of these things because, once again, I just was very green. So when he was going to take me on a date, I told him I would meet him there at the movie theater. He said, no, I want to pick you up, and I'm going to take you to this movie theater. And it was, like, really far from my house. And I guess he was like, I just want to, like, show you around or whatever. Ladies, rule number 1, if you're going on a date with a guy that you don't know like that, please do not drive in the same car as him. Please go and meet that person somewhere in a public place where there's lots of people. And I was going to do this date, but then I told my parents about it, and they were like, no, this is not smart, whatever. And so when I told him my parents and, you know, their concerns, instead of him being like, you know, understanding and like, oh, well, that's understandable. Plus, this was an older man, way older than me. He was like, oh, I just knew it. You know, you Christians are so, you know, judgmental, blah, 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 blah. And he was, like, angry about it. I say all of this to say that, you know, you have to be careful. Mm-hmm. Okay? Do not get into cars with strangers. Do not send out your information. A lot of girls that don't really have strong, you know, relationships with their parents might not tell them that. They might not show their family stuff. And then they might be dumb, very young and naive and excited that this older man is talking to them and go on a date, and then he could put a plastic bag over your head and in the car and it never bring you back. I'm saying all of that to say to be careful, you know, and if you're a parent, ask your children questions. Look to see who they're going out with. I know every time my mom, if I would go on a date or even to Starbucks with someone, she'd be like, send me his number, show me a picture of him. I need to see, you know, who you're dealing with. But yeah, I say all that to say to be very careful, because I feel like that was a possibility that I could have been trafficked. looking back on the situation, just the odd things that were happening, the questions that he was asking me, when I'm lining it all up in my head, I'm like, yeah, you just never know. So
yeah, that's some good experience to learn from, for sure. If y'all have heard the story, y'all should definitely take from her experience. And
yeah, well, I didn't come from a bad home, right? I lived in the suburbs. I wasn't a nasty hoe girl, right? But I was dumb. I was young and, you know, doing dumb young things. So
all in all, people, just, you know, be aware. That's the main thing, is awareness of your skill to defend yourself, awareness of other people that are out to get you, awareness of possible scenarios that could happen in case you know, but you know what hits the fan. You know, everyone just has to be aware of that and what they can do, you know, at the end of the day. Cool note, we wanted to add a scripture based off of this video, and the scripture is in Proverbs chapter 22, and this is verse 3. A prudent person sees evil and hides himself, but the naive proceed and pay the penalty. So this has everything to do with what we're talking about today. A prudent person sees evil, so that means being aware of your surroundings, what people are doing, you know, and then you don't want to be sitting here basically lacking, you know. You don't want to get caught lacking and seeing, you know, ending up paying for it, because you're not being aware of your surroundings, you're not being aware of what people are doing around you, you're not being aware of what you're doing so that's not protecting yourself, you know. So just keep that in mind. What do y'all think? Do y'all have any advice that y'all can give?
Or stories?
Or any stories?
We want to know.
Any type of skills, or, you know, things that people can be more aware about, because this is an issue that has been happening for the past however many years.
And they're getting more creative.
People have been getting more crazy, you know, and being more creative, like she said, with drugs and all this other stuff. So just give us your reaction. Tell us what y'all think, and like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on another episode of Coals of Fire. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.